probably should be able to sell that within like 24 to 48 hours. I made the mistake early on in my career of going into debt and putting things on credit cards instead of just getting a job. So I'm not here just to tell you to get a job. I'm just saying, like, I have a lot of guys who work for me where they work a 5 to 12 shift or something of that nature at night, 2-3 days a week, just to pay their bills. Because my intention is I want to put you in a powerful financial position, right? I'll give you an example. I have a 20 some odd year, I think you just turned 21. How old are you now?
I'm actually 31.
The only reason why I'm saying all this is because I know your first year, 2, and 3 suck. You are starting a business, okay? As much as like anyone, like, you know, sure, there's obviously, of course, we're going to talk about making a lot of money. Some of these deals we're going to talk about throughout our time together are going to be, you know, major commissions, all right? I mean, like, definitely there's a lot of money to be made here. However, starting a business from zero, I just want to make sure, you know, you have enough, you know, financially where I'm not just telling you to work 100 hours a week where if you don't close the deal for the next 6 months, you're screwed.
Yeah, no, I have enough runway right now to get through 6 months to 12 months.
Okay, cool.
So
I just want to
I plan that part out.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
You're in a good place then. Beautiful. I just want to make sure because like I've had so many people talk to me like I have 60 days before I need to do something or I'm screwed, right? So you're in a powerful place. So I love to hear that. So let's just skip straight to the schedule piece. What does your schedule look like right now?
Well, right now I usually get up around like 4. I do a little bit of personal time and then I work out at 5. And I come back, do breakfast, start listening to CNBC, getting ready for. I've listened to a lot of your stuff, your content. So I try to have that personal meeting at 8, figure out what I want to do, set my goals for the day, and start prospecting by 9. And I haven't been as consistent as I would want to be. I think that's where my bottleneck is actually right now, is just the confidence and the knowledge base of how to get a deal, a listing, or making that connection between the seller and a buyer. So I'll do that usually like 9 to 1, 9 to 2. And then the rest of the day I spend updating my CRM and working on whatever potential leads I may have, updating seller portfolios, getting to know who the sellers are in the markets that I'm working in, and so on.
Let's just make a couple key tweaks. So okay. I like the 8 a.m. daily team meeting with yourself and kind of doing a recap. Again, the main 3 things on the daily team meeting is a year to date of like where you're at, right? Which also, you know, I would connect your checking account like I talked about to QuickBooks. So I always tell everybody, I think it's the best thing to do just straight from the beginning. That's 1. 2 is the red flags, right? Make sure you're double checking like what kind of red flags, like, hey, like, do I have to follow up with somebody? Is someone waiting on an email? Did an email go out and all of a sudden like someone's going to kill the deal or something like that? And last thing is your commitments. What are your commitments for today? This should be 5 minutes, by the way, right? A daily team meeting is not meant to be an hour. Like I run through every one of my meetings is 15 minutes at most. And if I do a 30-minute meeting, it's because there's like 8 people in a room and I have to get through something with every single person, and each person's probably going to take me 5 minutes. So when you're doing a daily team meeting by yourself, 5 minutes is plenty of time. Maybe 6 or 8 minutes.
Which should be easy since I don't have a whole lot of deal flow right now and not a whole lot of red flags.
For sure. So, and that's fine. Which, by the way, your commit. So it could be 30 fucking seconds, right? Like it does not have to be anything other than just like kind of reviewing all of that. Okay. Next is then just immediately get on the phones. You don't have to wait till 9 a.m. You could do 8 o'clock in the morning. It does not matter. And then dialing till 1 o'clock is a very smart thing to do. At the very beginning of your business, think about things like this. So it's kind of like this X. I don't know if you can kind of see it. And the way I look at this is one lens is like lead generation, right? Lead gen, which is just prospecting heavily for sellers, right? And then the other one is follow-up. So this is all part of your lead generation block, that 3 to 5 hours, I call it 5 hours every day. So watch what happens. At the very beginning of your career, at the very beginning, you're going to have a lot more lead gen that you're going to be doing versus follow-up because you don't have a lot of leads. And then what's going to happen is over time, both of those kind of, they kind of intersect, right? Because then all of a sudden, because you're going to be doing like 95% lead gen, 5% follow-up, and then it's going to slowly do this, right? Where it's never 0 though on the lead gen, and it's never it's not like 100% follow-up, right? Like that's just not a reality. Even to this day, I still do probably 20-25% lead gen, 75% follow-up, 80% follow-up. Okay. I still need to be creating new deals, but like at the very beginning of your career, it's like 95-5 for probably the first 6 months minimum. And then we'll start trending down to maybe like 80-20 follow-up. 80-20 lead gen, 80%, 20% follow-up, okay? So that's your first 5 hours.
Okay.
Now, your next 5 hours, okay, so you have lead gen block, and then you have the second part of it is offer generation. There's only 2 pieces of this business. It's the simplest business in the entire world, and thank God, because if it was any more complicated, I wouldn't be in it. Just keep in mind that like it's very simplistic. You're generating these opportunities in the morning, and then you're selling the opportunities in the afternoon. That's it. You generate 123 Main Street, a 12-unit multifamily in Orange County. Awesome. Sounds good. The one thing I'm going to talk to you about is levels of discernment of a quality deal or not. Okay, you just spent 6 months trying to sell a deal that went absolutely nowhere. How does that make you feel?
Not very good. A lot of wasted time.
Remember how you feel right now, because many more deals like this will occur. And a huge mistake that people make is that they continue to try to sell a crap deal. Because think about it, your time, especially right at the beginning of your big business, is still very valuable. And as you continue to grow, it becomes even more valuable every minute. Where if you're spending even a minute or 5 minutes or 15 minutes on the phone with somebody who's really not that interested in selling and it's a bullshit call, you've just wasted the opportunity where you could have been on the phone with somebody and trying to move a deal forward. It's the levels of discernment, which is trying to understand of how clear is this path to success with this deal? You get this 12-unit multifamily in Orange County.
It would be good to know exactly what I'm looking for in order to be able to discern that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Right? So do you have access to CoStar, Reonomy? What do you have access to?
I have access to, so I have Reonomy, I have Mojo.
Okay, cool.
And then I use RealNext as my CRM.
Beautiful. Okay, cool. So even with Reonomy, by the way, okay, you can literally look at all the most recent sales, right? Like the past 12 months of sales in San Diego. How many units, what it sold for. And that price per unit is very freaking important. So if I asked you right now, what's an average price per unit for multifamily, smaller multifamily, like sub 20 or sub 20, maybe sub 30 units in San Diego, what would you say?
That's a very large market to average out.
Like if you said most of New Jersey,
it would be
northern New Jersey's like 170, 160 to 200. Central Jersey is like 150 to 200, depending on the submarkets, and then South Jersey is probably like 70, maybe 100 to 140.
Yeah, so I would say, if we're averaging the whole market out, I would say in the 300s.
300 a unit.
So
okay,
maybe
cool.
We could just run with 350.
Okay, great. So the reason why I say this, and because you're going to want to obviously know your pockets, because obviously some areas are way better than others. I understand that, right?
Right.
What I want you to hear and what I want you to study is having the levels of discernment in these submarkets. So it's like when somebody goes, how much does this guy want for the 12 unit, by the way?
He bought it at $4 million.
He paid $4 million.
He paid $4 million. He put about $350,000 to $400,000 of capex. And so he's wanting a return of about 4. So we had it listed at 5.1 at first, and we ended up dropping it all the way down to 4.9. The offers I was getting were
$400,000 a unit plus.
That's what he was wanting. Yes.
Okay. What kind of offers were you getting?
I actually wasn't getting anything written, so I was getting verbal ideas of like 4.2. 4.35, nothing over 4.5. I think so. Yeah.
Why were they not willing to write it up?
Because they didn't think that the seller would be willing to come down enough off their number, and they didn't want to waste their time.
This is a perfect example to give you an understanding of this is a lot of sellers in today's market. A lot of real estate agents will take that property and list it all day long, which you can. I'm not telling you not to. Okay, but I'm telling you what you are signing up for when you do so. This exact scenario is what you get every single time. This is why I don't push for listings. I don't need a sign in the ground to prove to me that it means something. It doesn't matter, right? So when I'm talking to this guy, what I'll do is this. I talk about expediting feedback loops, okay, offers, feedback loops to sellers within the fastest time frame possible. So what this means is that you get off the phone with Mr. 12 unit who wants $5.1 million, okay? $5 million, whatever. What I would do is that within 24 hours, number one, I would make an offer on this property personally. Now, look, the reason why I say this to you is that when you start understanding values, think about how you spent 6 months and you didn't get one contract written up, which I understand. We're going to change that. I hear this a lot. So this is why my team and I, what we do is we work as investors first, focus. So what we'll do is that I make an offer on every single lead we get within 24 hours of generating the lead. Because now what this does is that this is one piece of feedback in that loop, because I want to see how motivated the seller is. Do I have a clear path to success? Because what I'm going to try to do is within 24 hours, I'm going to submit an offer. We get a counter from the seller at their lowest and best price, ideally as fast as possible. So we get them down from 5.1 down to 4.9 right away. Because in that situation, he paid $4 million. I'd be like, listen, I would probably offer you $4 million, maybe $4.1 million. I think you overpaid for it, is what we would basically say. Knowing I could probably sell it for 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. I might even offer 3.5.
Would you only do that if you had a buyer list and you knew you had someone you could assign the contract
I know
to?
I can sell it for more. Period. End of story. I don't need to have a buyer. Okay. I just need to understand my market enough to know I can sell it for more money. Let's say I offer the guy. Personally, if I saw he paid $4 million, I probably would have offered 3.5. Okay, just to be super aggressive, because I know the point is it's not about him taking it. I don't need him to take it. I just need to know what he's actually willing to take. So he comes back and tells me 4.9. I then go to my buyer list and I can or call around that market and I'll call up a few of the buyers and you got somebody at 4.1 and 4.35. I would do all of that within the first 3 days. For 72 hours. Now I've got this guy 3 offers in 72 hours. 3.5, 4.1, and 4.3. Now, instead of taking 6 months, I've done this in 3 days. The seller goes, I would never accept anything less than 4.9, and I don't even know if I would take 4.9. Thanks, have a nice day, right? I put you on a 6 to 12 month follow-up campaign, and every 30-ish days or so, I'll touch base with them, see how they're doing, see if they're still open to selling, if anything's changed, right? As I'm prospecting, if any buyers come up who all of a sudden randomly tell me I'm looking for a multifamily deal in Orange County, I would throw them that deal. And maybe all of a sudden, once a month, once every 2 months, once every 3 months, I have another offer for him. But I'm not taking all that time, energy, and effort to focus on this one deal. Right now I think we have about 1,100 off-market deals right now. Now, look, I'm not saying all of them are good. I'm sure like 500 of them are at least similar to what you're dealing with right now. I'm just not worried. They're just on our board. I have that as a deal that I can pitch somebody if they randomly go, hey, I'm looking for a 12 unit and I would pay anywhere between $4 and $5 million.
Do you have exclusive right to sell for all of those properties?
No, we don't care. Contracts waste time. Because what all that people are worried about is legality. All people are worried about is legality in the sense of they're worried that they're not going to get paid a commission, right? A broker's worried that they're not going to get paid a commission. I'm not worried about it. Because if he wants $5 million, no one's fucking paying it. I don't need to worry if he's going to list it with me or not. No one's paying it. There's nothing for me to worry about. Now, again, if this guy goes, I'll take $3 million. But if you have a guy who actually wants to sell it for a very reasonable price, okay? Let's just say this 12 unit wants to sell for $3 million, which is clearly a good deal. I probably should be able to sell that within my own network within within like 24 to 48 hours. Even if you don't have a buyer, you could call 15 of the most recent sales in that entire community, right? In that area, in that town, and probably find a buyer for that deal if you wanted $3 million.
Right.
Why do I care about an exclusive right to sell? I could sell it no matter what. There's no reason for me to have an exclusive right to sell. I don't need to list it for sale. I don't need to worry about the whole listing process. And then if he wants $5 million, it's an even worse look. Why would I want to list this property for sale telling him I can probably sell it for him when I know for a fact I can't? The only time we take listings is if the person's like desperate to sell it, they were referred to us, they want way too much money, and I'm very clear with them up front. Like, I'm not the broker who's going to be, I'm not going to call you every single week to tell you how things are going. I'm not that broker. I'm going to tell you up front, your property's worth X, Y, and Z. Here's 4 offers to prove it. And if you don't want to sell for this price, we'll list the property for sale. And every single person who wants to tour the property, we'll make sure they tour it. Based on results, right? Based on your feelings of what it's worth and based on the market, we're just going to treat it appropriately. I don't need to, it's just like, I don't need listings. It's not that important. Till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to be prospecting, just straight seller lead gen. That entire time, you're literally doing absolutely nothing other than prospecting on the phone with Mojo. And I know it's freaking grueling, right? You got a standing desk, and you're just on your freaking treadmill, getting your steps in, whatever you got to do. And at the same time, I would be studying the market a little bit on Reonomy. Like, you can be like kind of searching around while you're dialing, right? Kind of multitasking a little bit. You can also take that time to make sure your email box is clean. You can be also texting people through follow-up at the same exact time. But that 5 hours is for lead gen focus. And over the next 6 months, I would not change a thing other than maybe 30 minutes at the tail end for just straight follow-up. That's it. That doesn't change. The later half. Now, you've generated some leads and you're going to continue. Now, 2 leads a day, 1 offer a day will keep your financial worries away. So in this industry, if you're not generating 2 leads a day, I don't know what you did today. I just don't understand.
I mean, the most calls I made in one day, like 450.
Good.
And I only have a single line dialer. Right now, I'm going to change that. Yeah, I'm going to get the triple line.
Definitely. An extra $50.
But I definitely didn't get 2 leads. At what point do you just keep going throughout the entire day versus stopping and doing something else, like updating your CRM and other things that you might?
Just do it while you dial. You're just going to slowly build your database, right, of sellers, of people who are open to selling their property today. You heard me on the phones this morning?
I did.
I got a little baby warehouse deal where the guy said he's open to selling it maybe by the end of the year, right? For a great price. I mean, it sounded like a good price. Just to give you some reference, it's like, okay, I just want 500 of those a year. That's it. Like, this is rocket science because I know I'm not going to get 100% of them, number one. He might sell with somebody else. Some other schmuck might also call him. I'm not the only person making a phone call, which is why instead of him saying, like, he goes, oh, call me back at the end of the year. I'm going to call this guy on Friday because I need to give, I don't want to do it immediately. It's going to feel weird if I offered him, full price immediately. He's going to think, he offered too much or too little. So I kind of like play the game a little bit. I'm going to call him back on Friday, but like, listen, funny enough, I was just in the area. I live in South Beach, so I clearly wasn't in the area, but I was in the area. I drove by the property. I talked to my partner about it, and I think, we'd love to at least present an offer to you, and we can close in January of the new year. And I offer him a little bit below of what he asked me for. Checks a few boxes. gives him a little light of an offer. He told me 1.2 million. I think it's worth 1.5 all day long. I'm gonna offer him 1.1. We'll see how that goes. But at least by Friday, he'll have an offer from me. But I just need to get 500 of those people every year. And I'm probably not gonna even convert on half. I'll convert on what, maybe 10% if I'm lucky.
It's a little bit of a different comparison because I'm not nearly as comfortable on the phones as you are, and I would not be able to do the underwriting that you did mid-conversation.
By the way, of course you're not. It's okay. Dude, like I've been doing this for a decade, for fuck's sake. If I couldn't do it like I do it now, and the only class I did well at was math. Okay? If this was Spanish, I'd be fucked. Thank God it's math. Okay? Like, I'm very lucky. So, like, and listen, by the way, everything you need to know when it comes to the math, the underwriting, the languaging, the communication style, all of that, we're going to work on together. Okay? You're not alone. You get, like, literally anything, any question. Obviously, you have my script book, I'm imagining.
I do, yes. And I have not memorized it yet, but I have it.
You don't need to memorize it. It's okay. Literally, dude, I'm not kidding you. You print it out and you go like this and you freaking read it. It's very hard to not get results when you just read that 300 times a day. And I'm telling you, dude,
fair enough.
Like, keep your mindset in the places where we can control. It's like you made 400 something dials. That's amazing. Good for you, right? My number one guy, we have a leaderboard. It's kind of funny. Number one, the most dials ever recorded in a day so far, I think is 1,045 or 1,050. And like they always compete, and it's kind of a funny thing. But the point is, look, triple line dialer, and they're just hitting the list. He doesn't do 1,000 dials a day. That's insanity. It was one busy day, which is great. The reality is, what's your average? That's what needs to be. That's what matters. What's your daily average? Because if your daily average,
I'm trying to get my daily. No, I'm trying to get my daily average to 300, 1,500 a week.
Beautiful.
Maybe a little more.
Start there. You can do more. You're not allowed to do less because you are the engine to your business. It's like, look, I got 30 plus guys on my team. We do over 100 and now 110, 120,000 cold calls a month. You know, and obviously it didn't start like that. It was just me. But when it's just you, you have the most control. And I think it's important for you to see it as like, okay, if you make 6,000 dials a month, okay, 1,500 a week, you're probably going to speak to, okay, let's just say 10%. That's 600 conversations. 600 conversations a month. And then you're going to generate something in the vicinity of maybe, if you're lucky, 5% of those people-ish or so in leads. So that's 30 leads a month. Right. 360 leads a year. 360 leads a year. Hopefully you should be converting at least, you know what, 5%, less than that, 2%. If someone says they're open to selling and you can't convert at more than, 2%, even, listen, dude, if you convert at 1 to 2% on 360 leads a year and that average price point's $3 to $4 million and you double end 80% of the transactions, you're making 500 grand a year. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a very simplistic business to make great money. The law of averages has to take place. And if you're not going to make 300 calls a day, I'm telling you, like, this is why, like, longevity pays.
So what was your knowledge base like by the time you started to convert at that rate? Because obviously if you don't know anything, you can make contact, but you're not exactly converting the leads that you generate.
Look, number one, you're going to get all of everything I know now, right? So like it took me 5 years to learn what I know. Because I didn't have a mentor I did, but it was different, right? He was an investor. My mentors have been investors. Okay. Your clientele is going to become your mentors besides me, right? Like you're going to learn a lot from these guys. You know, this is who we look up to, right? My mentors are the guys who are worth $1 billion. And he's like telling me about, how he built it up and what he did to get there, right? Like that's exciting for me. But, on the brokerage side, this is why I'm saying I did not spend half my day lead generated and then half the day is trying to sell deals. My mistake was that I had 3 guys that I had, that were buyers, and all I did was try to sell these 3 guys deals. But all I did was this, like I never kept trying to build my buyer business. That was a mistake I made. Okay. I had 3 good buyers and I just kept trying to sell them deals. And I ended up doing 20, 30, 40, 50, over 100, and then eventually over 100 transactions a year. But this was on the resi side at the beginning of my career, right? This was, 5, 6 years ago. And then I transitioned in the commercial world where now we do about half the transactions, but they're worth, we make 5 times as much money or 10 times as much money because of the price points and the commission percentages. The difference here is saying like, hey, how many buyers do you have right now? Like, do you have an investor right now who's looking for multifamily in San Diego?
I only have one right now.
You need to think about it like this. You need 10 of those people. You need to be in deep relationship with 10 guys like that. You have 10 guys like that, it'll be very difficult not to make money as long as you're prospecting for the deals.
And the best way to build those types of relationships is by having deals closed with these guys, right? I mean,
no.
Ultimately, they don't really care about you unless you're...
Dude, just take them to coffee. Get to know them. Yeah. Go meet them. Take them to dinner. Ask questions. Don't be like, you got to think about it like this. Take a step back. I'm telling you to become friendly and friends with 10 investors. What do friends do?
Hang out, have a good time.
There you go, bro. Don't overthink it. You don't got to make it weird, right? Like these people just want, listen, you know what an investor wants? A good broker who can bring them good deals consistently and will do whatever it takes to help them get the deal done. A guy who's not a schmuck, who's going to treat them well, who's going to do whatever it takes, find him some good deal every year, who's not an ass. All my main investors I talk to on a very, very regular basis. Some every day, several times a day. Some multiple times a week. If you had 10 good relationships, 10 great buyers, okay? And I'm not saying they each got to buy 30 deals a year, dude. I'm saying like 1, 3, 5 maybe. Super busy's 5 to 10. So like if you just had 10 guys who each buy between 1 and 5 deals a year, all you got to do is just fulfill the orders, right? That's all it is. You already got the orders now. You just got to fulfill them. That's the simplicity of the game. But when you have one guy and you pitch him a deal and he goes, well, I'm only going to offer 4.1 on a 4.9 deal because you only have 2 leads, of course it's going to feel difficult.
So ultimately just going through the Reonomy database and calling, the owners who have
this is where to start.
Multifamily portfolios or a large percentage of their portfolios, multifamily, and trying to set a meeting.
I would think about it like this. Prospect your lead list, just like you'd call all sellers. And then, did you hear me talk about the pivot strategy?
I did, yes.
Yeah. So when they don't want to sell it, you're immediately going to pivot the conversation to what?
Do they want to buy?
That's it.
Are they looking to buy?
Yeah. So you're building both lists every day. You're building your buyer list, you're building your seller list every day. And over time, all you're going to do is you're going to be filtering out your crap buyers because you're going to call up a buyer, right? I got a buyer the other day. One of the groups I work with focuses on mobile homes, okay? Mobile home parks. We got a small little baby park in Pennsylvania. Guy's open to selling it. He's going through medical issues. He's willing to sell it for $300,000. I called up a buyer that one of my guys found, and I called him up. Literally the same exact thing. Cold called him, and he wasn't interested in selling. He was open to buying. Called him up, pitched him the deal at $450. He's very interested in the deal. I'm going to lock it up for $300 and flip it to him for $450 grand. This is the first deal I'm ever trying to do a deal with this guy. Okay, it's a new market. We haven't sold something in this market. It's in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. This guy's going to I'm going to give him this one opportunity, and let's see how he performs or not. If he goes to this property and then he looks at it, by the way, it's still a good deal at $450. Maybe at worst case, I'll sell it for $400,000, but it's still a great deal at $400. Okay. If he comes back to me and offers me $280, I'm never going to do a deal with this guy. I mean, because it's dumb. Like if he says $280, I'm buying it at $300. I don't care. I'll take down the deal, right? If he's that dumb of an investor where like this is just like he's trying to find too good of a deal where it doesn't exist kind of thing, I'm never going to transact with this guy. So I'll give him an opportunity to show up. I'm bringing him a very good deal. It's like if you brought some investor the Orange County deal, but this guy wanted $3 million and the guy's like, offer the guy 2.6. Like, what are you being an ass for? It's worth $4 million. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's like you have to be paying attention to that aspect of it. And if you pitch a deal to them and they still are an ass or they won't perform, they may be just not a good buyer. Now, obviously, this is the opposite case of it. Now this is a good deal. Because if you pitch overpriced garbage, the only thing you can ever ask for from a buyer is to do what?
Say that again?
If you have an overpriced property, like you have possibly in Orange County, what's the best case scenario you can get from a buyer? Any buyer.
Just make an offer.
I agree. And write it up.
At their price.
Write it up. I agree with you the seller is probably not going to take it, but I need to write it up. Are you open to doing so? And if he goes no, okay, so then at what terms and at what price would you be open to writing it up? Because clearly you don't feel comfortable at X price. I need to write it up. We do everything in writing. I don't take verbal crap. I'll present verbal crap from me, but if I'm getting an offer from somebody else, I need it in writing.